While I was away from YouTube content creation for a short period of time, I still consumed some of the normie mainstream YouTube content, just as most people do, to be distracted from things beyond my control essentially, and while I was doing that, I have stumbled upon a very telling video by Jubilee called "Do All White People Think the Same About Race?" And pretty much it went as you would expect it to go. Apolitical and self-hating whites are pushing the interests of different races ahead of their own and not knowing what the hell they're talking about. The reason why I have decided to record this video, however, is not just to show you a case of injustice or even to express myself, but precisely to illustrate an example of a leftist centrism, a phenomenon by which information is filtered in such a way as to perceive the world in a leftist lenses, and as a consequence, leftist notions and assumptions about the world are being reinforced and pushed forwards. So don't consider this to be a reaction video, but rather something educational on a small case study. One thing I should say right at the start, of course, is that all questions that were asked were of a leftist-centric nature, reinforcing the dominant ideology on race discourse, such as "Do white people have a culture?", "Reverse racism?", "Cultural appropriation is real?", "Saying the N-word," and "I live a privileged life." In the whole length of this video, there was only one question that was conservatively biased, which is focusing on race divides us kind of question. Now, I of course won't play this whole video just for you, as I don't want it to be lengthy, and instead I'd like to focus on a few important pieces in this video and beyond to prove my point. The first question was whether being white constitutes a culture, and of course the correct answer, as this hella Irish white boy said,
"It's not really a culture. You can have culture like I'm hella Irish, obviously, and that's a culture. But just being white is not it's not a culture. I can't relate to you just because you're white."
This answer serves to reaffirm the individualistic assumptions among many whites that they don't have a culture nor a collective identity or interests, unlike the other races, and instead can only be something like Irish or Romanian, but never unified together like all other races, because being white is raceless. In reality, however, white culture in America is essentially a synthesis of all European cultures with a higher emphasis on Northwestern European cultures, and when the blonde girl said exactly that, but didn't word it properly, this hella Irish guy just laughed it off in his response video.
With culture, we branch out, we try different things, we want to do different things, so maybe we've lost a little bit of our culture?
Maybe we're creating a new culture.
Yeah, definitely whites can't have a culture, since it's dogmatically impossible for them to have, and the reasoning is circular, so what do we expect? Now, I won't debunk his ridiculous rationale behind those words, of course, but rather to show you that it works to repress white identity, and I'd like you to remember this man, as he likes to speak a lot, like most white boy leftists for some reason. Just look at how he's condescendingly proud of what he had just said.
If we were all black, could I relate to you guys if just because of the color of our skin?
Yes, because they go through very similar experiences, like they'll get discriminated against, and you're not getting discriminated against because of your skin color. They can both relate to that.
But I also feel like
white people want to be oppressed really bad.
with culture,
the reverse racism is the thing that they talked about next, whether white people can experience racism precisely. And of course the prescriptive answer is not, because if they do, you can't be racist towards them, and that's really a turn off.
Racism is that there's hate and oppression behind it, and as a white person in America, I do not feel oppressed.
Moreover, this reverse racism framing of the question amplifies the assumption that racism goes only one way, from white people to everyone else, despite strong evidence to the contrary, in the form of media and culture bias, and finally hate crime reports and in-group biases. Here's a clip of this smug hella Irish person arrogantly dismissing the lived experiences of this woman, implying that non-whites can't ever say anything that is racist.
for me, I feel like anything we do can come out racist to any other type of race, but at the same time, if they say something mean or racist to us that we feel is racist, it kind of gets brushed off.
What are they saying
when I think of the word
racist to you?
racism, I think more towards oppression, so that's why I'm in the disagree.
Just got
Like, I'll deal with someone just being mean to me, but whatever.
I'll deal with someone who's just being mean to me. That's and I agree with them.
The next question was whether race divides us, and of course the most racist part of the group went to strongly disagree, as in their mind anti-white discourse can never be racist, and it is perfectly understandable that they will be in the strongly disagree category. The interesting thing is that although I'm one of those white people who like to talk about race, even I would be in the unsure or agree category, as perceiving people not as individuals but rather as their ancestry groups can be divisive, and I admit that. But if I was as dishonest and perhaps stupid as them, I would probably place myself in the strongly disagree category. The next question was about cultural appropriation, which is a term only applied to white people but never applied to people of color who steal our clothing, knowledge and culture, because they consider it to be borderless for some reason, a universal gift from us to the rest of mankind. And sadly, most of the people don't even think about it deep enough and perceive cultural appropriation to be only one way, while in fact it may as well be one way from whites to non-whites. And I'll let you think for yourself whether cultural appropriation is good or not. The next question is a cringe one, which is about whether whites can say the N-word, and honestly I'd just skip it as it is absolutely ridiculous. But here's a small part right out of it so that you know how people who wanna control what white people can say and can't say look like.
To take a word that was derogatory towards them, they should 100% have the right to do that.
But do you think it's okay for a white person to sing the song?
See, that's where we're like all on the fence. It's like I feel like
it's a word used as my friend basically, and like just like she said, if they want to take that back from its horrible origins, then I'm totally fine with that. But as a white person, you can't say that word without feeling a certain way.
Yeah, but I have a question. If they didn't put it in their songs, you wouldn't say it, right?
No, yeah, 100%.
So are they causing people to say that word more often? Because she wouldn't say it if
It's
it
not
wasn't.
white people's place to tell them what they can and cannot use. So.
People are like, well, why can black people tell white people that they can't use it? Really? Do you not know the history of that word? The history of that word is awful. So that's why you can't say it.
I'm not sure if it is just me, but throughout my life I have noticed that whenever people don't have any logical rationale to defend their position, they resort to getting emotional and as a consequence screaming and being violent to compensate for a lack of their logical argumentation. It is quite remarkable that those who are most emotional and lacking logic happen to be either Nazis or people like this person, at least in my experience.
They cut my whole speech in this one. And it was
It's so sad to say.
Yeah, that's so sad they didn't make this whole little video just about you. Anyways, I won't go into reviewing that as I made my own video about white privilege that you can check out, and honestly I can't stand whites who pretend that they have a certain undefined set of privileges no other race but them has, so I'll go ahead and skip it entirely. And the last question is probably the worst and the most hurtful for me to watch, whether one is proud to be white, that is. But before I will play it, just for the contrast, let's look at how this same question was answered by blacks.
I am proud to be black. 3, 2, 1.
Maximum racial consciousness. And as you can probably guess, nobody is proud to be white. In the middle were the racially unconscious whites, while the disagree category was occupied by self-hating whites who got so cocky and arrogant as to why the middle part is not as racist towards whites as they are themselves.
Thing about that is like how you said, someone who says I'm proud to be black, that's empowerment. Why aren't I allowed to be proud to be white?
Here is how this arrogant hella Irish person perceives whites to be as Nazis and the KKK.
What makes it wrong?
Yeah, what are you proud of? Just your skin color? Because yes, that is wrong.
So you're saying I can't be proud to be white because I don't have a culture?
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's that when white people say they're proud to be white, a lot of times, at least in my opinion, they're talking about their skin color, that they're not a different race. I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
But as like we were talking about, as a proud black person, they've been oppressed, that a lot of their culture was stolen from them. And a lot of reasons that I don't like proud to be white is because it has, the Nazis used it. The KKK used it. I don't want to be associated with any of those things, so I'm just gonna completely stay away from that.
And it is true in the minds of many, white people are associated with those groups, and this is why some people feel stigmatized for identifying as white and being racially conscious, as you're automatically associated with those hate groups because of our cultural hegemonic assumptions that are underlying the way we think. So no wonder people don't like to perceive themselves as white. And that goes to a point where people who don't feel those negative beliefs about whites are ostracized and shamed by those racists. And if that is not an example of open racism that is based on white repression and high individuality of the white community, then I don't know what is an example of that. To put it into the perspective, consider the manifestation and social privilege of blackness with the disadvantage and repression of the white identity we've seen in this video.
We're family, and I love being black. I love that blackness is expressed many different ways. It's not just one way.
I'm proud to be biracial. I'm proud of my immigrant half, proud of my black half. My ancestors bought their own freedom from slavery.
Yeah, I love being black. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, yeah, it presents its challenges, but I couldn't fathom being something else. So I am very proud to be an African American here in America.
When I think of being proud of something, I think of something I worked for, or that I had to do nothing to be white, absolutely nothing, and nothing was taken from me because I was white.
I heard there's a lot of like drama around.
Yeah.
A lot of.
That's why I'm here. You see.
Oh, I see. Is it not that safe for people who speak Afrikaans?
Yeah.
Do you think some of the pushback against the white people in South Africa is deserved or not?
Of course.
In the end, I want to say that of course those people would never confess that they are racist and would never say their true intentions, while shaming white people for not being racist to their own kind hard enough as they are. If there is anything common in people who are hella Irish beyond their pathological form of individualism and a rejection of collective identity, is their mental instability and high levels of narcissism and self-importance. Hopefully people who will see this will recognize things as they are and grow more critical towards the hegemonic narratives that are shaping our society and ways in which we perceive the world. Having said that, I hope that you can learn something from it, and that was all for today. Thank you very much for watching and being subscribed to my channel. It looks like we have to do some change from below.